In this video, we're going to be focusing on compound interest. Our goal is to use compound interest formulas, calculate present value, and I'm going to make a new video for calculating effective annual yield. So that one will be a separate video. So starting off, in our last lesson, we learned about simple interest, and today compound interest. So I wanted to talk quickly about the difference. Imagine you had an investment of $1,000 with an interest rate of 5% for 5 years. If it's simple interest, the interest is always calculated on the original amount, on the principal. 5% of 1,000 is $50, and $50 would be added every year for a total of $250 in interest. With compound interest, it works a little differently. If you have compound interest compounded annually, which is once a year, at the end of each year, 5% of the balance is added in interest. So the first year, we would find 5% of 1,000, and that's $50. And at the end of that year, you'd have $1,050. Then, the next time we calculate interest, it's based on that new balance. And 5% of 1,050 is $52.50. So a little more interest is added the second year, giving you $1,102.50. And then we find 5% of that amount and add it on, it's $55.13. So each year the amount of interest goes up a little bit as your balance increases. So that's how compound interest works. And with this compound interest situation, $276.28 was added versus only the $250 with simple interest. If you recall, in our last lesson with simple interest, our future value formula was A equals P times 1 plus RT. So we needed the principal, the rate, and the time to find the future value in the account. With compound interest, the formula is going to have an additional variable. Our new formula is going to be A equals P times 1 plus R over N to the NT power. So in this formula, we have an additional variable called N. And N is going to be the number of times interest is compounded per year. In this example, interest was compounded once per year at the end of the year. But interest could be compounded twice a year, or 4 times a year, or 12 times a year if it's every month. There's different ways that interest can be compounded, and the number of times per year is going to be N. So again, compound interest is computed on the original principal as well as any accumulated interest. When interest is paid N times a year, we say there are N compounding periods per year. And it's also possible for interest to be compounded continuously, which is literally every instant interest is compounded. And with continuous compounding, we use a different formula, A equals PE to the RT. So that will just be when we see that keyword continuous, we're going to use that formula. For all the rest, if interest is compounded annually, semi-annually, quarterly, or monthly, we're going to use this first formula for all of these cases. And in that formula, you're going to need an N value, and N is going to be the number of compounding periods per year. So annual compounding is once a year, N is equal to 1. Semi-annual compounding is every 6 months, and N is equal to 2. Quarterly is every 3 months, N is equal to 4, and monthly is every month, or N is equal to 12. Let's take a look at this example. At the time of her grandson's birth, a grandmother deposits $10,000 in an account that pays 8% interest. What will be the value of the account at the child's 21st birthday if interest is compounded annually, semi-annually, quarterly, monthly, or continuously? For these first four, we're going to use the formula in number 1. And for this last one, we're going to use the formula in number 2. So for the first four, we have n values. Annually is once a year, n will equal 1. Semi-annually is twice a year, n will equal 2. Quarterly is 4 times a year, n equals 4. And monthly, n equals 12. The principal, or the initial amount of the deposit, is $10,000. So P equals $10,000. The rate, just like before, we always change the rate to, we look for the percent and we change it to a decimal. 8% changed to a decimal. We take that decimal and move it 2 places to the left, and we get 0.08. And then the time, well, the child's birth to 21st birthday is 21 years. So T equals 21 years. And for all of these, we will have that principal, rate, and time. So if interest is compounded annually, using this formula right here for those first four to find the future value of the account, I start with A equals, that's what I'm finding. P is 10,000. And then I do 1 plus the rate, 0.08, over n, which is 1, to the nt, 1 times 21. Now, I'm going to plug that in my calculator exactly as it's written. And that's what my calculator screen looks like. So I typed in 10,000, I opened up a set of parentheses, inside the parentheses 1 plus, and then I inserted a fraction right here, 0.08 over 1, and then I closed that parenthesis and inserted an exponent, and the exponent needs to be in parentheses. Otherwise, when I type 1 times 21, the 21 comes down, but I need it to stay up there. Also, some people have been putting a decimal instead of times in the exponent where we have multiplication. Make sure you put times for that dot, not a decimal. And since we weren't given rounding instructions, we should probably round to the nearest cent because it's money. So I'm going to keep 2 digits after the decimal place. So I'm cutting off my number right here. But remember, when you round, you're going to have to look at that 3rd digit to decide what to do with the digit in the hundredths place. And a 7 tells me to bump a 3 up to a 4. So I get $50,338.34. Pause the video and try parts B, C, and D on your own. Make sure you're plugging in the same thing we just did, except the n value changes. So that number right here on the bottom of the fraction and right there. So it's in 2 places. You're just changing n. Try those next 3 parts. Okay, hopefully you had a chance to try those. For part B, it will be A equals 10,000 times 1 plus 0.08 over 2 to the 2 times 21, which gives us $51,927, and again to the nearest cent. The 9 bumps my 3 up to a 4, so 84 cents. In part C, it's quarterly, so n changes to 4. That gives us 10,000 times 1 plus 0.08 over 4 to the 4 times 21, which gives us $52,773.32. This time a 1 tells me to keep that 2 the same. And for monthly, same thing. 10,000 times 1 plus 0.08. I change n to 12 because it's monthly. And then to the 12 times 21. And we get 53,357.25. Notice that when we compare annual compounding interest to monthly, it's a difference of about $3,000. So the more often interest is compounded, the more money you end up with in the end. Now for part E, interest is being compounded continuously. This time there is no n value, so I'm not using the formula we used for parts A through D. I'm using this formula in number 2 that is specifically for continuously compounding interest. So I'm going to use A equals PE to the RT. P is still 10,000, so I still start with 10,000, and then I just type in my calculator the letter E. E is approximately 2.718. And E is just a constant that we use in exponential growth and decay problems. So we type E and the calculator knows what that means, and then you insert an exponent and raise it to the RT power. R is still 8%, so 0.08 times the time, which is still 21 years, and your whole exponent needs to be in parentheses if you're using Desmos, so go ahead and plug that in. And we get approximately $53,655.56. And that is more than we got with monthly compounding interest or any of the others. But it actually wasn't a huge difference between monthly and continuously, only about $300 more. It was a huge difference between annually and monthly, like $3,000 more. So continuously compounding interest is going to give you the most, but it's not as big a difference as you would think. The key to remember when you see that word continuously compounding interest, we have to remember to use that different formula, A equals PE to the RT. Now, just like with simple interest, we are going to encounter problems where we have a future goal, an amount of money we want to have in the future, and we're trying to determine how much money to deposit now. In these problems, we know the future value, A, and we're trying to find P, the present value. So we're using this formula right here, which is the same formula that we used on the last part, except it's solved for P. So the future value formula, if you recall, was A equals P times 1 plus R over N to the NT. If we solve that for P by dividing both sides by 1 plus R over N to the NT, this part cancels, P is by itself, and we end up with this formula right here, which is the present value version of that formula. And what this allows us to do is plug in A, R, N, and T, and to find P, how much we should deposit now. So in number 2, how much money should be deposited today in an account that earns 7.5% compounded semi-annually so that it will accumulate to $3,000 in 4 years, round to the nearest cent. So we want to have $3,000 in the future. That's A, the future value. So A is 3,000. That's our goal, to have that in the future. We know R is 7.5%. Change that to a decimal and you get 0.075. For N, we are looking for a keyword like semi-annually, which tells us that N is 2 because interest is going to be compounded twice a year. And we want this amount of money in 4 years. So T is equal to 4. And now we can plug this into the formula. I'm finding P, the amount we should deposit now, to end up with $3,000 in the future. So that future value, A, goes on the top. On the bottom, we do 1 plus 0.075 over N, which is 2. Close that parenthesis. Raise up an exponent to the NT, so 2 times 4, and go ahead and plug that into your calculator. And there's my screenshot from Desmos. Notice that I started by inserting a fraction. I put 3,000 on the top, and then in the bottom I put a set of parentheses. I typed 1 plus, inserted another fraction, put 0.075 over 2, close that parenthesis, and then you have to raise up an exponent, and the exponent needs to be in parentheses. And inside 2 times 4, don't type 2.4. That's not the same thing. And then our final answer is $2,234.60. Well, if we round, it's going to be 69 cents. And actually, with these present value questions, whenever you are trying to figure out how much to deposit now to reach a financial goal in the future, you're always going to round up, no matter what. So in this problem, we round up anyways, because when I cut my number off and round to the nearest cent, the 5 tells me to bump that 8 up anyways to a 9. But say that 5 right here was something lower, like a 4, a 3, a 2, a 1, or a 0. I would still round up, because if I round down, I might fall short of my goal. I might not end up with the entire $3,000 that I need. And I would hate to be like a few cents short. So you always round up when using this present value formula.